Yesterday, I shared my new book trilogy, the last book in the series. And as with every single book, that night and today, I had the biggest revelation where I was like able to take everything in the book, everything that I was receiving from the input from my external reality, connect the dots and have this realization that all of my remaining patterns and programs are connected to this idea of being small to be safe. And I realized I had the answers all along. I already had my higher self perspectives that I was putting in its place. But this was just seeing how it was all connected, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And so I felt like this was the perfect video to make because it also applies to the last couple of videos about boundaries without resistance. So, of course, when we're in resistance, we feel small. And so, this act of being small, constricting, tense, and this also happened so much in my life when people would put guilt upon me or be jealous of me. And jealousy is actually putting guilt upon someone else. But dimming your light to be for others people to be okay is basically the theme that was emerging, that all of these things was because I was, well, a highly sensitive person, picking up on all the emotions of others and just wanting everyone to feel comfortable and happy. But their emotions are their responsibility. That's not my responsibility. And I realized that the greatest act of service I could do for them is to be my true self. And when I feel that coming from someone, that kind of energy, that small energy, is instead of changing who I am so they can feel comfortable, I realize that that is why I am here, I can help them by remaining in alignment, remaining myself, remaining in a frequency of love, and instead of dimming down and becoming small as well. So this was just so profound to me because I realized like so many cycles in my life where I went through such a difficult time with another human or humans, and the whole thing was a test if I would break out of this being small paradigm. And what I saw was that every time I was like being big, expressing myself, doing big things, living my truth, being confident. So all emotions of love are expansive, and expansive is big energy. So when you feel confidence, when you feel courage, when you feel good in literally any way, you got big energy. And so whenever I was on having momentum, I would have these tests I can see were constantly been in my past where someone would come along and see if I would remain there or if I would go small to make them feel more comfortable. And what I saw was that time and time and time again, I would make myself small. I would dim my light. I would come down. I would come into fear. And because the only reason one would dim their light is out of fear. Because, and this whole thing about being small to be safe, the truth is we are always safe. We are eternal beings. Our life path is like, things don't just happen. If you ask me, accidents don't happen. It's a vibrational reality. Everything we experience is our best case scenario for our spiritual growth. And so this whole idea of safety that we as humans have put so much emphasis on, and I can see that because there's so much layers upon layers and layers of beliefs and programming that made us feel unsafe. And it all started with the first one that felt unsafe and then manifested something to make them feel unsafe, because we're that powerful. And this just kept happening and happening and happening. It's like the belief, it just reinforces itself continually. If one thinks they're unsafe, they'll manifest something to make them feel unsafe, and then they'll say, see, I'm unsafe, and then they'll manifest another thing. Yet the truth is, we are safe. We are eternal beings. We are energy beings that are having this human experience, but we are energy. And so we really cannot be hurt. We are whole, we are pure at our core, our essence that has come into this human life for this experience. And when it's over, we will move on to something else. So yeah, this whole thing about being safe, and I realized this was some really, really deep conditioning. I was aware of it. I knew I had higher self perspectives to put in their place. But like I said, once I could connect the dots and see this cycle, it was like, oh my gosh, that's the end of it. That's the end of it. And today I went out for an adventure, and I saw some deer on the way. And whenever I see an animal, I take note of it. And when I get home, I will just look up on Google deer spiritual meaning, and then see what pops up to me. And I intend that I see what is best for me. And I kid you not, every time I do this, like, the best information for me comes up that's so resonant. So this is something fun to do when you see an animal that maybe you don't see every day. So I saw these deer, and I'm just gonna refer to my little notes that I wrote down. So, quiet strength. So this comes back to boundaries without resistance, which is just choosing ourselves and putting ourselves first for the greatest good of all. Because we're not going to live our purpose, our mission, if we're not putting ourselves first. If we're putting everyone else first, we're not going to be doing what we came here to do on this planet. This is just one example, and there are just so many, but you know what I'm saying. And then the next one was a messenger of peace and harmony. And this is what I felt was letting me know, this realization from after the book. Oh my gosh, so much peace, so much harmony, so much more harmony with my outer reality, because I knew I never had to be small again. I knew that was just a program, and it showed up in all these different ways, in these different patterns. And I'll share a pattern after I let you know about the deer. And then the other part was challenges with grace rather than aggression. And that's what we talked about in the uh, Boundaries Without Resistance Part 2, is when we see all as innocent, when we see them with love, we nothing bothers us. And we start to see the benefits to everything. We start to see what it's mirroring to us. And so we can take the growth. Because literally everything on this planet, I assure you, you can look at through the positive. And I am a testimonial to that. I've been able to do that with everything in my life, and I've been through a lot of different things. And of course, just like you, I've witnessed a lot of different things and seen a lot of stuff on the news back when I used to entertain that. Haven't for a long time, but still, of course, things seep through to see. But now I have this higher perspective. I can look at it. And so instead of seeing the negatives, I see the spiritual truth of what's happening, of how these situations are actually assisting all involved on a spiritual growth level. It's just that as humans, we are so preoccupied with guilt that, and this is like resistance, like basically the root of all resistance. And so this makes us small, and because guilt is fear, when we're fearful, we're not thinking clearly. And so it's just kind of, yeah, not very productive, but it is an experience that we came here to have. So it is valuable to have that experience. There's nothing wrong with it. And then when we learn a different way, we can be, oh, so thankful, so appreciative that we see the reality in a different way. And then the other thing from the deer, the message was that intuition above everything else. So I am sharing many things, and I will share many things, and many people share many things, many channels, many books. Doesn't matter. Trust your intuition above everything else, that inner voice. Tune into your heart. And this is where you are going to start to receive this inner wisdom from. So the example I had today that made me just one of the patterns that I've been dealing with, that I know doesn't serve me. I know it's old news, but it was just in this small to be safe kind of frequency. Was I was out, I was experiencing nature, and it was just so beautiful. And I was actually just by myself on this beautiful beach with the ocean. And I kept on having this thought, this reoccurring thought that started of who's coming, or I wonder if someone's going to be coming. Who's coming? And like having like, it's kind of like a worry, a fear about who could come. And then I replace this with my higher self perspective, which is that anyone who comes is benefiting me. All humans are my helpers. Everything is a blessing. And so I reinforce these higher self perspectives, and then to free myself from this. But now with the extra added perspective that this is just this little small conditioning that used to be in me, because now that I'm aware of it, it's very easy to release. I could see that it's this idea that I need to change my behavior depending on who is coming. I say, no, 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 no. I am not going to change. Remember the deer, intuition above everything. Of course, if you're receiving intuitive guidance to say something or not say something or what, trust that. But the bigger picture here is to not get small when someone else comes to make them feel comfortable, is to stay having a great time, enjoying myself, stay in that high frequency, feeling gratitude, feeling joy, these loving emotions, because loving emotions are expansive emotions, are big emotions. So that is big energy. You know, it's not some egotistical thing. It's not thinking that we're better than someone else. It's not how the size of your private parts. Big energy is love. And love, of course, you are attracted to this channel, you understand me, but of course we mean the vibration of love. So all of the higher vibrational emotions, which can be gratitude, peace, joy, simply presence, neutrality, being relaxed, and the list goes on and on. So that is big energy. So when we feel ourselves starting to get small, remember love, big energy. And love, we have an infinite tap right here, an infinite source of love through our heart center, which we can allow in at any time. And so we can just remember love and remember, feel gratitude for the situation. Everything's a blessing. Everything is helping. Everything is to make my life better. And so when we remember these things, we stay big, we stay expanded. And when we're big, this is also just a natural boundary, because love is the most powerful vibration possible. So it's basically, if you love someone unconditionally, there's nothing they can do. They can't mess with you at all, because the only way someone could mess with you, manipulate you, control you is through fear. That's the only way. When you are in a state of love, that is literally impossible. So that's the big energy. It's love. And it's within you, and it's within me, and it's within every single human. And all it takes is that shift in perspective to bring us back to an aligned state, and where we can feel that. And trust that if you don't feel it yet, and if you want to feel it, of course you will in divine right time. It's a process, but myself and many others would be so honored to guide you through that. But yeah, so when I was out on the water, I saw an eagle came, and it was fishing in the sea. And I saw this eagle, and I was just mesmerized by it. I was just looking up at it and thinking, wow, this is so cool to watch, and going down like that and catching the fish. And then similarly with the deer, I looked that up when I got home. And the first thing that came through was freedom. And so when we let go of this smallness, we could even call it the small self, which aka false self, separate self, all of these things, ego self. But this small self, it it's the opposite of freedom. It's, if we want to get dramatic, which I don't like to do, but it is prison. So when we choose to be our true self, when we choose to be the love that we truly are, that is freedom. And that was what that eagle was letting me know, is that I was reaching a new level of freedom through this. And there's a couple other messages. So it was also a call to rise above challenges. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so perfect. And to rise above this whole small thing about being small or getting small so other people can feel comfortable, that's their responsibility. And I know you have a big heart, and you feel how the other feels, and you just want them to feel better, and you want them to feel good, but that's their responsibility, and they're never going to learn that for themselves if we keep pandering to that illusion. Basically, by being small, we are just reinforcing their own illusions. The only way we're going to help them get out of it is if we be our true self. And then the last message from the eagle was to take the higher perspective. And of course, I've always seen eagles as kind of spiritual messengers from the divine. I just love bald eagles so much. I love all eagles, but this was a bald eagle. And I feel like the white head, it's very enlightened. And so this is seeing it through our higher self perspective. And that is what I was sharing, is that when these old patterns, these old programs, they rear their head, then we bring in our higher self perspective. And we keep bringing that in until we come back to feeling at ease. Because at ease is expansive. When we're not at ease, we are tense, constricted, fearful, small. When we are at ease, we are relaxed, we are feeling good. And all good feelings are expansive feelings, are in the frequency of love, and thus our energy gets bigger. So that is big energy. We got it. We all got it. We all have the potential to tap into it. We all may not be expressing it in this moment, and sometimes we may not be expressing it. But every single human on this planet has the ability to tap into that and to express their true self in this world. And that would be my intention for you, if you watch this video, that you may find a greater level of alignment with your true self through these words, through this energy. And so, yeah, I will leave it at that. Sending you much love on your journey today.